Hi, Elaine. Hi, honey. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Doreen. Hey, Tacoma. So glad you guys are here. Island. How are you feeling? I'm good. It is really, really super cold here, but we actually did thaw out from the snow just a little bit. Got my driveway shoveled off. Hi, Tracy. So I don't think it's supposed to get any more snow. So we hadn't even had any like all this year. So yeah, so this was kind of hit hard, and it was like I don't know, like 5 or 6 inches. Hi, Trish. Yeah, so it was a lot of snow, and I didn't go anywhere yesterday. Hey, Marlene. Yeah, so we are just coming out, and there's Beth. Hey, you guys, tell me, did you get any snow? We've had just crazy weather everywhere. Crazy, crazy weather. Okay, so I have a fun thing that we're going to do tonight. It's just kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but I thought that it would be good to do hormone myths because there are so many of them. And I spend pretty much 24/7. Well, I do sleep sometimes, trying to create ways for you guys to get the information and the just have like sources and resources to get the truth because there are women suffering. There are people dying. I mean, just because they don't understand. And I don't know, just all the symptoms. So I just finished my second edition of my book. And if you go to my link in bio, you can get it. But I thought it would be kind of fun to do kind of book club tonight. And one of the very first things in the book, and if you go to my link in bio, there's actually, you can buy the book on Amazon, there's a link, or you can download for free the book as well. And if you guys are my regulars and love this information, any of those free downloads that you do, we ask for your email. So that way we will have your email in case anything happens on this platform because things happen, right? And so we want to be able to let you know where I am or at least be able to get videos and information and things. So I hope not because I love this platform and we have lots of fun here and learn lots of cool things. But so anyway, the book actually starts out. Are these lives on YouTube as I can't watch tonight? Oh yeah, absolutely. It's being live streamed right now on YouTube. It always looks a little bit weird because I'm always looking at this screen for TikTok, but I will repost this as well, so you can go back and watch it later as well. So yes, yes, you absolutely can. Hi, Constantina, Amanda. Hey. Okay, so this is the book, and we're just going to kind of go through the hormone myths on here. Oh, that's chapter one. It's switched over on my screen. And so I'm just going to kind of draw pictures, but I think this would be a great night for you guys to ask lots of questions. So the content is can be as short or as long as you want. So the first one is you don't need testing for hormones. So, what do you guys think of that? Put that in the chat. Have you ever been in a situation where you have asked a doctor or a healthcare professional to check your hormones because you feel like something isn't right? Has that ever happened to you? Do you feel like you were gaslighted or you felt crazy or like you didn't know false or like you didn't know what to even ask for, but you knew something wasn't right? So, when I think of this, oh yeah, they say that. They absolutely do. Yeah. So, and it's so interesting because what we're up against is not only something that has hurt women as far as information goes, but it has hurt physicians. And I am a medical doctor. I've been one for almost 25 years now. So I know what I'm talking about. We shouldn't have to ask. They should just test. Yes. Yes, said I'll let your GYN do that. Oh my gosh. Yes, as for testing. Yeah, and like it's like they punt off to the GYN because the GYN is supposed to know, right? Because that's what they do. They specialize in women's health and hormones. And yet, what do we get? We get, hi, Holly. What do we get? We get, oh, we don't need to test for that. Or you just get thrown some birth control at you or something. Or if you have hot flashes, then they might give you like some estrogen pills or something. But I always say it's like if you had your thyroid removed, and I had someone actually like fuss at me the other night and say it's not the same thing. It's like totally different. I went to my OB, told her I was and she said, yeah, yeah. I didn't read all that comment, but yeah, absolutely. So I have so many patients tell me that they want to get tested, and like people won't when the doctors won't listen to them. So yeah, had a lady the other day, and she's like, it's not the same thing because my analogy is, if you had a sick thyroid and they removed it, it had cancer or something. Would you ever, thank you, would you ever not test someone's thyroid levels? And would you tell them that hormones cause cancer and not give them thyroid hormone? Or would you just say, okay, well, you don't have a thyroid, so you're tired and you're not feeling good. So I'll just give you the lowest dose of thyroid and see if that works. And if it doesn't come back, and we'll renegotiate that. Did you go over your board already? No, I just started. So we are doing the first myth. I'm so glad you're here. Yay. I'm not sure what your name is, but Abos? Okay, I'm glad you're here. So we're doing the first one. You don't need testing for HRT or for hormones. So hormones are a very broad category. There are a lot of different hormones. So the funny thing is, when you go to a doctor, if they will listen to you, hey, hey Carol, um, if they will listen to you, then it's like, okay, we'll check your hormones. What do they usually check? A TSH, which isn't even a thyroid hormone, but they immediately equate hormones to thyroid if they're going to do a blood test. And then if you ask for hormones, they immediately think it's estrogen. So that's what we're up against. It's like, I always say it's clown world. It makes absolutely no sense. And so the medical world has just basically been like blinders on that all hormones cause cancer. And they are saying that. And that is dangerous to say because it's simply not true. It's just simply not true. And there are lots of different hormones. And would you say that giving somebody thyroid hormone causes cancer, right? So we have to decide which hormone, first of all. So the first thing that I want to do is, I always do this. I want to dispel a little bit of the situation that we're dealing with. And that is, oh, this is really small. I'm just noticing that's really small. Let me move that a little closer. Maybe that will help. Okay. This is on this axis is your hormone levels, your ovarian hormone levels over time. And this is from birth until you live to be 100, right? And 50 is about the age we go through menopause. So our hormones are estrogen, our progesterone, our testosterone, they all start climbing. And then we are in our fertile years. And then as we get into perimenopause, things really start fluctuating, drives us all crazy. And then progesterone is the green line here, and it starts dropping off first. So progesterone has a lot of different functions. So I'm going to put progesterone here. So when it drops off first, progesterone means progestation. I like using lots of colors. Progestation. And gestation means pregnancy. So this is your main pregnancy hormone. And if anyone has ever been pregnant, during your pregnancy, you are so tired. I remember like I would get home from work and I would literally just like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, I literally would just go to bed and wake up the next morning. And so your progesterone levels when you are menstruating vary between what phase of your cycle you're in, but can be anywhere from 2 to almost 100. And in pregnancy, it can be a couple hundred. Actually, it's really, really high. So, one of the functions of progesterone is to balance out estrogen. And I'm going to get to a couple of myths, and a lot of this is going to overlap, but I kind of like doing it this way because you can see how they how they overlap. Okay. So, progesterone is very big for sleep. It balances out estrogen. Balances estrogen. It helps with fluid balance because when you have too much estrogen, we call it estrogen dominance. You get puffy, you just feel bloated, you feel yucky. So progesterone actually balances out. Estrogen helps with fluid balance, helps with your GI, your gut, when you feel bloating there, helps with the flora balance or the biome, the bacteria in your gut, helps with your thyroid sensitivity, so your thyroid works better. And then I have to do a little graph here. Can you see that okay? So this is a 28-day menstrual cycle. And this is day 14 when you ovulate. And so if we do hormones on this axis, as your hormones start to climb, this is hormones here, as your estrogen starts to climb here, and this is day 14 when you ovulate, and this is what we call the follicular cycle, and this is the luteal cycle. You don't have to know those, but I'm just kind of breaking this down for you. You're developing a follicle or a cyst, which makes the egg. The egg pops out, or if it gets fertilized, you have a baby. If not, then estrogen has to drop back down, and you slough the lining of your uterus. Progesterone's job, I'm going to do that in green, is to grab onto that estrogen and bring it down, and there's a feedback loop that happens with the brain. So progesterone has very distinct function for sleep and balancing estrogen, your fluid balance, your GI gut flora, your thyroid, your temperature regulation in your brain. So it's so important that you have this balance. When you don't, you have something called estrogen dominance, and you get a big spike on your estrogen here, and then you have, by comparison, a progesterone deficiency or an imbalance between your estrogen and progesterone balance. There is something that you can do with a measurement app called an Omni calculator, and you can actually put your estrogen levels and your progesterone levels in and see if you're estrogen dominant. And it's really, really cool to do. So first of all, you have to find somebody who will test you, and if you can't, we will. So this is our test kit, and if you, like I say, if you want to get your estrogen progesterone level tested and see if you're estrogen dominant, if you're having things with sleep balance, fluid balance, feel bloated, GI gut not sleeping, thyroid issues, and you want to get your estrogen progesterone balance to see what your estrogen to progesterone ratio is, we can do that for you. So if you just go to my link in bio, which means I think you have to leave this page, but come back if you do. And on the top there is my website. It's Hormone Bliss, and there's a link that goes straight to it if you don't want to go find it on the internet. And you can order a test kit, and it's super cheap. It's only $129, and it was retailing at $299. Yay, waiting for your kit. I love it. Yay, that excites me, Helly. But like normally, if you can't find a doctor to do it, it's up to, $500-$600 to get a blood test. One of the things I love about the saliva, which is why we chose it, is because my passion project is to get at least 50% of women out there to not be suffering and to at least give them, ratio wasn't detectable. A lot of times when you have no hormones, which is very common out here, nothing is detectable. So that's what we fix. So I'm excited for you to come. But yeah, so the saliva test is super easy, and you can be anywhere in the United States and do it. And you just fill the little tube with saliva and you put it in a little test kit, and then you mail it in. So it's free shipping to you, and it's free shipping back to the lab. And then you also fill out this questionnaire with like 3 million symptoms on it. And there's things that people don't even really ever think about, like thinning skin and urinary incontinence, or waking up in the night to urinate, low libido. You feel like you're aging. Do you feel like that some days? Like you literally wake up like overnight, you feel like you've like aged like 10 years. You're like, holy crap, my skin was like good yesterday, and like today it's not. What else tested in the test kit? So it's estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so we start with that. There's a lot more that we can do, but that's sort of the screening test, and that's sort of the entrance in the program. And also it allows us to just kind of see where you are. And so many women have been gaslighted and just told it's not your hormones, or you don't need hormones, or all the myths that we hear. And so it's just an easy way to say, hey, see, it is your hormones. You're not crazy. So what else in test kit? So yeah, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone to start with. And why saliva? Well, number one, because it's really easy and we can get it to you and you can get started on your journey. Oh, and the consult when we get your labs back is included as well. I keep putting that upside down. Is included as well. So, and then we'll talk to you about getting you on some bioidenticals and if you need further testing, whatever that looks like, because it's individualized care. So, how to order a test, you go to hormonebliss.com or you can go to my link in bio and you can go directly. And there's a lot of free downloads there for information as well. Things like hair loss, genetics, all sorts of information you can get. So yeah, you can order a test kit. I think someone asked me what that app was, and it's called Omni Calculator, OMNI, and severe PMDD. Okay, yeah, actually, okay, so we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then DHEA, yes, we can check for DHEA. DHEA is a precursor. So let me just do that real quick. I love your questions. So please, 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 please keep them coming. But I want to answer them. If I don't answer them, my moderator will pull them back through and repost them. But if I don't see them and you want to repost again, you can too. So premenstrual disorder is that same thing. So if we did 28 days and we did day 14 as ovulation, and what happens is when your estrogen climbs here, I know I'm doing this again, but I wanted it cleaned up so you could see it. Estrogen starts climbing here. Right here is when you start to have the premenstrual symptoms, and they've changed the terminology from PMS to PMDD. But what happens is estrogen climbs. If you were to draw the uterus here, we can even put some ovaries here. Kind of looks like a funny animal. But what happens is as estrogen climbs, we'll put an E for estrogen, this lining in the uterus fills up. And it's really only supposed to be the lining, and then you're supposed to menstruate and lose that lining. But what happens is when you have too much estrogen, you keep building up a lining. That's the job of estrogen. And if you don't have progesterone to balance that out, to bring that down, then you're just going to fill up. And I think of it like a bucket and at a amusement park. And you know, those buckets, if they fill up too much, they're supposed to just fill up a little bit and then they just sort of dump a little shower. If they, moderate anywhere else, TikTok live. Oh yeah. I'm not sure what that question is. I'll let my moderator answer that. But if you have a big bucket at like a water park and it's just supposed to dump a little bit, but what happens is like with estrogen, this fills up too much. The bucket fills up too much and it like dumps and it can literally hurt you or pelt you with all the water at the amusement park. And it hurts you because it's like super painful because your uterus is not supposed to be that swollen and feel that bad. So all the things that we know with PMS, the old terminology is the bloating, the headaches, migraines, grumpy, craving chocolate. Why is it that anytime anybody says chocolate, like you immediately want chocolate? Like I'm thinking, do I have any chocolate in the house? I don't know. It's just a thing. It's a trigger. It's like sneezing. You know, when somebody sneezes, like, or yawns, somebody yawns and you want to yawn too. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, I love chocolate too. Okay. So that's where you get the PMS symptoms. So if you don't have enough progesterone to pull that down and estrogen just keeps going crazy, you just keep building up a lining and now you have estrogen dominance. After enough times of the cycle, now on the next 28 days, now it's shifted over this way and then it's shifted over that way and then it's irregular. And that's where we get the irregular bleeding with PMS or with the PMDD syndrome. And PCOS had dog yawns and I yawn. It's cute. PCOS is really just ovarian dysfunction. And so that is like what leads into that too. So all estrogen dominance, whether it is PCOS or ovarian dysfunction or endometriosis, which is just a building up of the lining. Fibroids is when you have like these big tumors that form in the lining because they're too overactive. Struggling with bad PMDD. Okay, so what do you do about it? You want an easy fix? They will tell you that they want to put you on meds, that they want to give you like ibuprofen type medications to help with the inflammation and the pain. And they'll tell you that you just need all the symptomatic control. Here's your sleeping pill. They want to put you on synthetic birth control. And then the next thing you know, I mean, you're just medicated into oblivion, antidepressants. So here's the deal. Natural progesterone, which is what is here, you use it here to bring this down. So if you had progesterone here in a happy place, that could bring this down. Now you're back to your normal, the way this is supposed to look, normal cycle. So it looks like this. And then the progesterone kicks in and it looks like this. So if it's not working properly, then you just give somebody progesterone here and here. And so during these days, and we usually say 11 through 21 is where we give you that natural progesterone at bedtime, and you sleep really well, and you have really light periods, and it fixes it. And then after about 3 to 6 months, once you're back on cycle, and then you've looked at the other things like your diet and your environment, because there are chemicals in our environment that are constantly affecting us called endocrine disruptors. And once you educate yourself about how this works, and once you get feeling better, you're a little more motivated to start making some environmental changes that can make a big difference, because it's probably a lot of the chemicals in our food, well, not probably, but there's a lot of factors that have affected all of this and thrown us off. And genetics, I love genetics. I did a genetics talk the other night, testosterone and MP thyroid. I know. Well, here's the bad thing. What's your, if you feel comfortable sharing your name, IBOWZ, you can share your name. But yeah, so what birth control does is it is a synthetic, either estrogen or progestin. And what it does is it's a very high dose of usually estrogen and progesterone that does this, that basically shuts down your ovarian axis. Chelsea, I like that. And it shuts down your ovarian axis. So it just shuts you down. It's like puts you in menopause. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So it just puts you in menopause. But the difference between a natural progesterone and a synthetic progestin is a natural progesterone. I actually have a fertility program. My fiance, he's my moderator, and I were just talking about that earlier. I have a whole fertility program, and really we just do this and we get you cycling again. And I have women, I would consider my doctor to order labs, no tests though. Okay. Convince my doctor to order labs. Okay. You might have to bring that around. Stopping progesterone on day 21. Yes, day 21. So you would stop it here and you just use it here. And I lost track of what I was saying when I saw your question. So convince. Okay, convince your doctor. Okay, so yeah, so they have to check your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, because they all interplay together. So I forgot to put testosterone here. But the problem with, I remember what it was, synthetic testosterone, yes. Synthetic progestins can actually abort a baby, because what it does is, number one, it makes where your uterus is inhabitable, and it makes it where the feedback loop to the brain puts you in a semi-menopause. But here's the deal, and this is on some more of my stuff there, but here's the deal. You're going to freak out when I tell you this if you guys haven't heard me before, my little tribe that is always here. Bioidenticals, yes, yay. Hasn't had a period in a year. Yeah, so usually what we'll do is just pick a day. So now we can't really say day 11 through 21. So we'll just start on bioidentical hormone therapy until she gets cycles back. However, sometimes, I don't know how old she is, but sometimes in perimenopause, you can crash because you are born with all the eggs you're ever going to have. And once those eggs are gone, we lose about half of them about the age of 30. Yay. Okay, she's 22. So that would be unlikely because she'd be down here. That would be unlikely for her to be an ovarian failure. So there's probably a lot of other variables. Sometimes it's medications. Sometimes it's stress. I've seen people go through like a death in the family, and it just puts them right into ovarian failure. I've seen cancer chemotherapy do it. I've seen birth control do it. Oh, and that's what I was going to say. Synthetic progestins actually can I don't want to say abort a baby, but actually it can terminate a pregnancy before it actually gets formed. So synthetic progesterones not only do that, but they also are made from petrochemicals. So if you've watched any of my live replays or go back or you've seen them, those are actually made from natural oil products, from petrochemicals. And they are, by definition, endocrine disruptors because they are synthetic forms that the body does not know what to do with. And it's no different than drinking from a plastic cup or microwaving a plastic. All those chemicals are byproducts of that. Taking bioidentical testosterone and progesterone, started estrogen in November, and I'm feeling awesome. Yay, I love that. That's awesome. Just jumped in and asking questions. Please, that's what I'm here for. I have topics, and tonight we're doing myths, but I just love the questions. So if I don't even get to the rest of the myths, that's fine. So that's what I'm here for. Absolutely. And I'm here every night at 7:00. So come join and ask questions. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you. So as long as you guys keep showing up, I would say I'll keep showing up. Okay. So let's go to another myth here. And for those of you who, did you see my question? I don't think I did. Holly, would you ask it again? How do I know if my progesterone is bioidentical? Okay, so that's a good question. So it should be progesterone versus progestin. So that's what you look for. That's the difference, and it's just a different chemical structure. And then there is actually, so I did one night, 53 profound hormone depletion. Everybody at 53 has profound hormone depletion. That's just, hormone depletion syndrome, right? Or what is it? I always call it ovarian failure. I was going to ask that. Yeah. So everyone you check out here has like no hormones. So that is very, very predictable. And that's the crazy thing about checking your hormones is that they tell you you're normal because after menopause, you're not supposed to have any. I'm like, but I feel like crap without hormones. Would you rather feel like a 30-year-old or would you rather feel like a 60-year-old? And we have the way to do that. Why aren't we offered that? Progesterone 200 milligrams. Most likely that progesterone is a bioidentical called prometrium. And I do prescribe that with my patients sometimes. But that is a really high dose. You're right. And yeah, horror depression, because progesterone, remember I just drew on there that it can make you tired to go to sleep, which is great. But if you get too much, it can make you too tired, too sleepy all the time. And then if you get to, TikTok shuts down. I am on Facebook, Dr. Tammy Tucker, and I'm on Instagram and all the places. So what I would recommend, testosterone was negative. Oh yeah, my testosterone is negative if I don't do something about it too. What I'd recommend is if you go to my link in bio and download some of my free information, we get your email and we send out emails with free information all the time. And if we have that, I can let you know where I'm at as well. So so go do that. I have lots of stuff, genetics, why my doctor told me I can't take hormones, a free ebook download of my balancing act book. So all sorts of there. But yeah, if you go do that. And then to order a test kit too is on there. To come, it's okay. We're going to fix that. So yeah. And I missed another question just a minute ago because I was like, my ADD, I'm a squirrel. ADD is actually a symptom of menopause. Free information, sign up. Yeah. So go to my link in bio when you're done here. So go back to my main page. If you click on my name up there at the top, it'll take you to my main page. And then my link in bio, if you click on that, it'll take you to a link tree and it'll give you all sorts of information. Oh, you follow me everywhere. Thank you, Misty. That's so sweet. So go do that. And after this, and you definitely need something. What's your estrogen? Oh yeah. So that is how we do everything all together. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything. That's why it's a balancing act, right? You want to do all the things. 48 with estrogen level of 7. Is this an alarming level? Yeah. But what happens is we really start declining. When I say alarming, it's because that's criminal. For women not to be able to get testing and get the right therapy, it's just, it's criminal. It's like taking my thyroid out and saying, oh, you don't need testing. And okay, if you're miserable, let's give you the lowest dose. I mean, I just go back to that because it's just like the perfect analogy. So, um, PCOS. I actually did, Gigi, I did a talk the other night on PCOS. I think I have the repost on there. If you guys ever can't find my repost, because I actually got to hire a social media person because I can't keep up with like all the reposts and stuff. But if you go to my Facebook page, Dr. Tammy, I have every night when these post, they're like all in a row. So you should be able to find them there. Protocol for PMDD. Just talked about that just a second ago, Z. And it's pretty much days 11 through 21. You might have asked that earlier. Days 11 through 21, we use a topical progesterone cream, and it's an easy fix. The mammal model is actually 719. Not sure what that was. Hormones can women take that have had a hysterectomy? So bioidentical for sure, Holly. But I was going to say, the mammal model, like your cats and dogs, they have a period and you hardly even know it. We are only supposed to bleed for 3 days, maybe, light spotting. We are not supposed to be like buying Super Plus tampons at the store. We were never designed for that. Something is very wrong. And we have so much estrogen in our environment called xenoestrogens and all these chemicals, all these endocrine disruptors. Topical, not pellets. She said estrogen levels at 719. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. And topical versus pellets. Topical is one of the safest ways to do it. And we prefer topicals because you have so much less side effects and they go straight into the bloodstream. And again, my passion project is to do this nationwide and have hormones available to every woman, from teenagers having issues to infertility to ovarian failure after menopause. So it's it's tricky when they do pellets because usually they're just testosterone. And I have so many women come to me that are overdosed with testosterone. They feel terrible. They are growing beards. They are getting acne and losing hair and gaining weight. And I've had to remove pellets out of women before. So yeah, it's not pretty when it's not done right. And a lot of these doctors are just doing it because they can make money off of it. And once they're in, they're in. Yeah, you just got to wait for them to wear off, unless you have a doctor who will take them out. And one of my patients just recently, she was in tears and she was begging and she's like, please take this out. And I had a full clinic schedule and I was like, I cannot let this woman suffer. So we had to like kind of put everything on hold and take those pellets out. And it was the same procedure as putting them in. It really wasn't hard, but I had so much compassion there. I was like, oh, so we actually do pellets in our office, but I am very, very particular about getting someone balanced before we even talk about that. And you can do a topical testosterone cream. And so that's what we do too. But we always check levels because you wouldn't just do that to somebody who didn't have a thyroid. You wouldn't just like throw them on a dose and say, hey, I think that's close. That's close enough. I mean, you would never put anybody on testosterone without knowing their levels. So if you guys are on bioidentical hormones and you feel like they're not doing it right, then we can absolutely help you with that. And if they're not going to do testosterone, which is another myth on here, so I'll pull the myths back out in a minute. Not sure that mine was 96 and then 30s. Are you talking about estrogen levels? 96 then 30. Okay. So this estrogen level is 719. I said I'd come back to that. Your estrogen and progesterone fluctuate throughout the month if you have follicular phase or the luteal phase. So it just depends on where you are. So you can have a really high estrogen during one part of your cycle. Specialist who's been studying for 20 years. Yeah, so just because they're OBGYN doesn't mean that they know all this about hormones. They might know how to deliver babies, they might know how to do pelvic exams, they might know how to diagnose pelvic dysfunction or cancers, or use, big pharma to treat certain aspects of it. But when it comes to actually understanding these hormones, you really want somebody who knows all the nuances of everything and knows how to guide you with dosing, because everybody's different. And without testing, it's just, how would you know? PMT in the first place, I would wish it on my worst enemy. So I truly believe, and I was just saying a second ago, that the old terminology was PMS, which is right before your period when you have estrogen dominance. It is miserable. So yeah, we're struggling because we have so many chemicals in our environment that act as endocrine disruptors. So it's so important that we are aware of what we're taking into our bodies as well. But natural progesterone, days 11 through 21, is the biggest fix. But in perimenopause, we do both, because people's progesterone is dipping, and then this is estrogen. I think, yeah, this is progesterone. So there's a bunch of different ones, but these are, two of what I have sitting here. And then depending on your levels, we do that. Highest estradiol patch. So estradiol usually comes in, it depends. They have like the little mini dots, and then they have the bigger ones. And then it goes anywhere from like 0.1 to up to 0.25. So, and then some you take once a week, and then some you take twice a week. So, estrogen is higher. Struggle with high cortisol during this time. Yeah. So when estrogen is higher, high cortisol, because this is kind of cool. Let me do this little graph here. So if you have, your body actually uses cholesterol. I know, it's actually a hormone that turns into progesterone, and then it turns into estrogen, and then testosterone. And then there's a side pathway that makes cortisol. So all these are related. So when you have too much of one thing or too little of another, there's all the signaling that happens in the system to regulate everything else. So absolutely, if you have too much estrogen, you can have an imbalance in your cortisol. What do you think a 48-year-old estrogen level should be? Okay, so that's a depends question. So if you're 48 and you are right here in perimenopause, and you are not on anything or any medications or anything, a serum level of estrogen, but when you're 48, oh my gosh, you're so all over the map. It is so hard to say what it should be. But if your estrogen and progesterone are balanced and it's in a blood test, usually you want to be around 60 to 80 on your estrogen. So if this was blood, it'd be 60 to 80 on your estrogen, and probably 2 to 10 on your progesterone. So let me do that, keep it consistent on your progesterone. Now the saliva, which is more accurate for what is actually in the cells, because when you do the blood, it's only what's in the bloodstream, and it has to get into the cells. So the saliva is a measurement of what's in the cells. So the levels are a little bit different, and they're in a different measuring, like picograms per nanoliters. So it's apples to oranges if we're talking about what normal is on the saliva test. But if you're asking because you've had your levels checked or someone's done blood work, does that answer your question? I want to make sure you can tell me if that answered your question. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this just a second. Yes, okay, yeah. Okay, so, you know me, I have to flip boards back and forth. Okay, so I think we've got, you don't need testing for HRT, so I think we've knocked that one out. All hormones cause cancer. Okay, that's a big one. That's a whole nother talk for a whole night, right? 96 last year, and then got worse, and my level dropped to 30. Yeah. So it's probably, if you're 48, it's probably doing that fluctuating thing a lot. Normally what I do there is put you on both estrogen, progesterone, probably a little low dose of testosterone if that's low, and get that balanced out. So, okay. So this myth is all hormones cause cancer. First of all, define what hormone it is. Okay, is it thyroid? Is it GLPs, like the weight loss stuff? Is it insulin? And if all hormones cause cancer, would a doctor ever say, oh, you can't take insulin, that's a hormone that causes cancer? No. Test cortisol levels. This test just does estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which is our starting point. If we get things balanced, your cortisol will come into balance. If we get this balanced, your thyroid will come into balance, unless you've got some significant autoimmune stuff. That's a whole nother thing. But we do, once you get into our program, if we need to check your cortisol, we can absolutely do that. There's also another test that we can do called a Dutch test, which is a dried urine test for all the hormones, metabolites, even melatonin, cortisol, and you do it serial through the day. So you do it morning, mid-morning, afternoon, and at night. So we can follow that as well. And we can tell you what your levels are doing. We can talk about adrenal fatigue, all those things. But we really, this is sort of our portal in. So we see your levels and then we can tell you where we're at. And we can correlate all your symptoms to those levels too. Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, so which hormone is it? If all hormones cause cancer, there's also ghrelin, which makes you hungry. I always think it sounds like a gremlin. And then there's leptin, which makes you feel full. And then there's growth hormone. And then there's LH and FSH, which make you ovulate and have cycles. So you kind of get the idea. I mean, I could sit here and I could make, I could just keep going on the list. So when someone says hormones cause cancer, I have to say what hormone. And I have a great freebie. If you go to my link in bio and you click on that, it takes you to a link tree and you can see all my freebies. And I have a really good one there called My Doctor Told Me I Can't Take Hormones. And I go through all the nerdy science about what crap that is. I don't mean to be so blunt about that, but I mean, it's just, it is what it is. So it's crap. Okay. So anyway, so which hormone is it? Okay. So which hormone do you think they're talking about? So you think they're talking about estrogen because that's the one that gets the bad rap. So when I say, okay, what hormone? And I do that all the time, and I don't mean it snarky at all. But when somebody messages me and says, hormones cause cancer, I'm like, which hormone? There's a lot of them. And it's like saying, if it's our body's natural estrogen or progesterone, that's like saying God would give us a chemical native to our bodies that is designed to kill us. How would that possibly be true? Now, synthetic estrogens and progestins absolutely can kill you and cause breast cancer and clots and all that stuff, but it's a totally different thing. But they want us sick. They want you to think that you have to use their antidepressants. They want you to think that you have to use their sleeping pills. And 60% of women are on something for sleep. At least 40% of women are on antidepressants after they don't have any ovarian hormones anymore. This is a crisis. This is a big, big deal. So bioidenticals kind of get a weird rap. It's like, oh, that can't be real because it's like not what my mainstream commercial doctor would give me if they're seeing 60 patients a day and delivering babies and all that, so, and not have time to really talk to you about or learn this stuff. So that's what we're dealing with, right? Is they don't understand. And then they're like, because they don't understand it, it's hokey or it's not real, like leaky gut or adrenal fatigue. It's like, oh, doctors don't know what they're doing, or they must be, not real doctors if they're talking about this stuff. But there is JAMA and all the journal articles talk about this stuff. So it is real. And for them to say it's not real, it's just gross. I always say it's clown world. Content, would you talk about starting HRT and GLP at the same time? I actually did that last night, a whole talk or the night before. Now I had internet troubles because of the snow last night. It was terrible. I talked about thyroid and estrogen. I did one on GLPs. I don't know if it's posted. You might have to go through my Facebook and find it. But absolutely, I do use the GLPs quite a bit. I know it's going to open that door when I put that on there. um, oh, thank you, Elaine. But yeah, so the GLPs, I use them in my office. I don't use them in everybody, and I only use them in people who do start estrogen if they're not on it, because the estrogen actually stimulates your body's own natural GLP. So a lot of times they don't need the GLPs, and we're talking about Mounjaro, Ozempic, all those the weight loss shots for people who aren't familiar with what GLP is. Um, but estrogen, actually, natural estrogen, like God put in your body, like bioidentical, meaning it's the same molecular structure as our bodies, actually stimulates your own natural GLP and your GIPs, which is what's in Mounjaro, which has the GLPs and the GIPs in it too. So, but I don't want the people I love to have to take weight loss shots the rest of their life. And if they are going to do it to get that, we all want those quick wins. I mean, it feels good. We're natural, we're human. And so if they're going to do that, I'm like, we have to get your hormones balanced, because you're never going to get your GLP balance back if you don't get on some bioidentical estrogen after you don't have any more right here, right? Okay, so I do want to get this in just a little bit. Oh, thank you, Takama. So I want to get this in just a little bit, because the reason people, that whole saying, hormones cause cancer, they want to say that it's estrogen. So I'm going to tell you what actually happened. Don't take my word for this. Go look it up. Estriol versus estradiol. You can. So she's talking about estriol and estradiol being the two main good estrogens. God doesn't make a bad estrogen, but estrone is a problematic hormone for lots of different reasons. But I'm going to show you something real quick. So that study in 2002 that scared everybody. They took women 10 to 15 years out from menopause when they did not have the protective benefits of any hormones. Okay, I was looking for questions, sorry. And that study in 2002 basically took women out here, put them on synthetic estrone, which is a problematic one. So she was talking about E1, E2, and E3. So this is the protective one. This is the neutral one. So we'll put happy, happy, happy. This is the neutral one. But this is the one that helps with all your bone density and balances out your heart, so you don't have palpitations, so you don't have hot flushes and all those things. You're sleeping well. E1 is the problematic one. E3 acts like a fire blanket and completely negates the effects of E1. So absolutely, overweight, you can use estriol only versus estradiol, but I probably wouldn't, unless you are having like an acute metastatic cancer situation. But I still feel so comfortable with E3, because E2 can convert to E3, E1 can convert to E3, but E3 does not convert back into E1. It only come in fire blankets it. So I have lots of women who've had breast cancer who actually are doing E3. And actually, most of our breast oncologists around here, now we've got a couple that I question, but are okay with estrogen of pretty much any form that I want to give them, because they're up on the research. And sometimes they'll still use tamoxifen to block the effects of the estrogens on the breast, and we'll still do hormone therapy. So that is all, like, it is all going away. It's dissolving. All that old science is absolutely dissolving away. Thank goodness, because women are suffering. Absolutely. Side effects of BHRT. I had a complete surgical hysterectomy at 49, 53 now, and absolutely miserable. Yes, you are in ovarian failure. You have no hormones. You have to get some hormones. Please, I'm begging you, go order the kit. When we're done here tonight, go to my link in bio, go to hormonebliss.com, order a kit. Let us see how bad your levels are, and let's get you taken care of. I hate the words absolutely miserable. It hurts my heart. It makes me like so sad. Side effects of BHRT. The side effects are you have certain functions of estrogen, and you have certain functions of progesterone, and you have certain functions of testosterone, or DHEA, or pregnenolone. Any of those have functions. If you are using one and not balancing them out, which is one of the other myths that's on here, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's like saying, if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone. But that's like saying you have shoes, you don't need socks. So the long answer to your question, to come is that if it's not balanced or done right, the very thing like progesterone that helps you sleep, if it's too high, it'll make you sleepy all day. It'll be like a hangover the next day, right? Which is why we work with you and you tell us what's going on and we tell you how we adjust it, or we adjust your creams and can help you get that balance back. Then retest you, see where we're at, see where your whole list of symptoms is falling out, and going from I'm absolutely miserable to, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could feel like I did when I was 30 again. So, yeah, so the side effects, to answer that question, is that the balance is everything, because too much estrogen and then not getting the progesterone balance can make you feel estrogen dominant. And I still see that in my practice. I have women like will think we've got it, and so we'll set them on a course and then they'll be like, oh, I don't feel good. And it's like, okay, well, we need to figure out why you don't feel good. And then we have to bring that balance back. And every woman's different. And the main reason is because every woman's liver is different and they metabolize hormones differently. So that's why one size does not fit all. And that's why your GYN, who's just writing those scripts, who just all they know is big pharma and, oh, we'll just put you on birth control or, synthetic estrone or something. That's when you run into problems. So, okay, did I get that? Okay. Oh, and that study in 2002. I want to do that real quick because this is super important. That study in 2002, they said that 25% of women are going to get breast cancer if they take HRT. That was not true. And there's a difference in how the data was presented in the first place, but there's a difference in absolute and relative data. And so I truly believe there was an agenda from the big pharma, whoever has the most to gain, that actually said 25%, because that just wasn't true. And there's another thing, and I did a video the other day, so you can go back and find that one, on synthetic hormones versus BHRT, bioidentical hormones. And it was like saying that the cause and effect was not even accurate. It was like, so how many kids get a cold on the playground and then they introduce a new, softball game or marbles or something like that. And one more kid gets a cold that year. And therefore or jump rope game, I think it was, that jump rope game caused that kid to get a cold. So it's not even that. But here's the deal. That study in 2002 that they said hormones cause cancer, everyone, I don't know how they ran with, oh my gosh, you guys are getting kids. I love it. Yay, yay, yay. It's like I have this little app on my phone and it like starts blowing up when you guys start ordering kids. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to focus here. And so there were two arms of this study. One of them, which also they weren't taking into account that they didn't have protective effect, and they weren't taking into account whether a woman was a smoker, heavy drinker, what environmental exposure she had, none of that. And then they put them on synthetic estrone. But there were two arms of the study. So one arm of the study, they had these women on synthetic estrone, which is the bad guy, not bad, but a proliferative, problematic one. And then one arm of the study, they had them on synthetic estrone. Oh, I can't even write tonight. Good grief. And progestin, the synthetic progesterone. So this is the estrogen only arm. This is the estrogen plus progesterone, all synthetic over here, arm. You know which one reached the upper limits of problems with cancer? It wasn't even the quote estrogen arm. It was the one with the synthetic freaking progestin in it. And yet it's like estrogen causes breast cancer. That's not even what the study even showed. So I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I get so passionate. It just blows my mind that is such a myth that it was the estrogen arm. Now, granted, that was even synthetic petrochemical breakdown xenoestrogen almost. I mean, it was like, it was this problematic estrone, but it wasn't even the estrogen arm. It was the one that had the progesterone in it. So I'm not the smartest girl in the world, but to me, that looks like a problem. Okay. So I'm going to go through a couple of the more of the myths, and I think I've probably broken down most of these. So we've got all hormones cause cancer. I think we did that one. Only men have testosterone. Testosterone. That's not true. Women actually have more testosterone than estrogen. Men have much more testosterone, but apples to apples, women have more testosterone than estrogen. Usually, I mean, that varies, right? But for the most part. See, we got that one. HRT is only for menopause. Now, we talked about that perimenopause. We can check your hormones, get you all balanced, get you feeling better. And the term HRT is hormone replacement therapy. So, normally we talk about that when you're in ovarian failure, which is what happens after menopause. So, replacement therapy would be replacing what's not there, right? So, when we say bioidentical hormone therapy, that means that it's not the synthetic stuff. And still in perimenopause, even though you're not in ovarian failure, we can still do what we call BHRT or bioidentical hormone therapy. If you are in your menstruating era, then usually what we do is natural progesterone. If you're having PCOS, endometriosis, ovarian dysfunction of any kind, estrogen dominance, or infertility, that's what we do there. But occasionally, depending on what your levels show, because everybody's different, we might do all the things, right? Or if you can do testosterone and a woman is in her 20s and just rock her world and rock her significant other's world. So testosterone is fabulous. Okay. So HRT is not only for menopause. Bioidentical hormones are a marketing gimmick. I'm here to tell you, as a medical doctor who's been doing this almost 25 years, it is not a gimmick. It is true. They want you to think that so they can demonize us, so that they can shut us down and not think that what we're doing is good. Okay, progesterone isn't necessary if you don't have a uterus. We've just talked about all the benefits of progesterone, balancing out estrogen. You can self-medicate with over-the-counter creams. So let's talk about that just a minute. There are some like progesterone 30 milligram creams, and when you're in ovarian failure, that's probably not enough. Now, some people do only use like 30 milligrams, but for the most part, when you're in ovarian failure, usually we're using 75 to 150 milligrams of progesterone cream. So, and why not use somebody like our team? You don't have to use our team, but somebody like our team who understands this and who has all the protocols to help you, so you don't have to figure it out on your own. Because number one, this was a lot of years of me studying this to be able to make the protocols to help you guys. So why not take advantage of that? Just, shorten the learning curve a little bit. Okay, so there's that. You don't need hormones if you don't have hot flashes. I think we've already established there are a lot of symptoms, like 3 million of them on this list, from frozen shoulder. I would say frozen shoulder, and people are like, I didn't know frozen shoulder was part of ovarian failure. And I always say, menopause is just a year without periods. That is not the terminology. Menopause is a dirty word to me because it does not define what is happening to us. It is ovarian failure, and we need testing and we need therapy. So, like, I don't even want to use menopause anymore. Just call it what it is, ovarian failure. Okay. So hot flashes are just one thing on there. And then I did a thyroid and hormone talk last night, and my internet was terrible because of the storms we've had here. So I'm going to redo that one at some point. Hopefully some of that came through, but absolutely. There are so many symptoms. Dysfunctional thyroid that kicks in after after ovarian dysfunction, and then all of the other symptoms, from libido to blood sugar changes, swelling, puffy eyes, getting up in the night to pee, blood pressure changes, ringing in the ears, neuropathy. It just goes on and on. There's a lot of them. Defeat the failure. Yeah, that's what it was. I love it. I love it. Defeat the pause. I love it. So we've established that in that talk that I did yesterday, we were talking about temperature regulation because it got really cold here. And I'm like, oh, I got to talk about temperature regulation. So if you are cold with low thyroid and you're hot with low estrogen, then hot flashes mean nothing, but all the other symptoms that you have are real. And the last one is you're just crazy. Anyone ever just tells you you're just crazy? I mean, like, a doctor's not going to come out and say that, but they're probably going to tell you, well, you just need an antidepressant because you're probably just depressed. Or you probably, they probably won't even say you're depressed. They'll probably say, could it possibly be depression? Because maybe we could just give you a pill for that. And since everyone other doctor has gaslighted you and tell you, or moody, yeah, has told you that it's not your hormones, or you can beg them to maybe check something and they'll do a TSH or something, then it's just kind of that place where you start to feel like you're crazy. And I'm here to tell you that the myth is that we tell ourselves that we must be crazy because no one else understands that. Yeah, Amanda, every time. Yeah. So don't tell yourself that you're crazy. Do your homework, be empowered, understand. And you don't have to know all this stuff. I know I'm all over the place like a mad scientist when I'm throwing all this stuff at you, but I just wish I could just take a little chip out of my head and just share this with you guys because there's so much to it. Yeah, validate me. I mean, that's what we need because we're an ovarian failure. It's like someone took our thyroid out and they won't give us any thyroid hormone. Or if they did, they're just guessing at the doses and it's criminal. That's the only thing. I call it clown world, but that's just kind of the way I kind of make light of it. But it's criminal. So you guys, I will validate you. I will tell you are not crazy. This is real and it's dangerous because it's causing your bones to crumble, it's causing your heart to get stiff, your blood vessels to get stiff, your blood pressure to go up. Heart disease is the number one killer in women after menopause. Um, yeah, so there's so much to that. My mom fell and broke her hip 3 times and it took her out of the game. They say that women over 60, a hip fracture, they'll be dead within a year. So it's like, this is bad. This is really bad. And they're gaslighting and tell us we need an antidepressant. I don't think so. We need some ovarian hormones because we don't have ovaries anymore. So anyway, okay, I'm done with my rant. I promise. I just need sleep. The insomnia is brutal. Okay, so you just need some progesterone. So there's so much to it, but we definitely want to get you balanced. Again, tell your friends I'm here every night at 7 o'clock. This audience is growing and it takes you guys to make a movement, to make the change, to stop the lies, to stop the madness, to diffuse the myths. And when you go out there and you start telling them that this crazy doctor says this stuff every night at 7 o'clock, you will hear hormones cause cancer and they will shut down. Oh, hang on. They're telling me they're going to kick me off here. And they will shut down. And I hear it all the time. They'll say, yeah, Dr. Tammy, she does hormones. And they'll be like, oh, I can't take hormones, causes cancer. So you will hear that. So you have to arm yourself with the truth and you have to be prepared. And there's no way, Katie, there's no way that we can make these changes and help women stop suffering if we don't do it. So you guys are the light and the love of the world. So take that out there. And I love you very much. And I'll see you tomorrow at 7.